Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry with College Football Stop, bringing you another show today. As always, man, we got a lot to get into. Obviously, today is January 11th. We're fully into the off season, and it doesn't feel like it yet. I wasn't doing shows daily because I thought, this is my first time doing content around this time of the year. I thought it's the off season. I'm gonna need a couple days to get material together and all that good stuff. There's not gonna be something to talk about every single day, but it's honestly been the opposite of that, and there's been new stuff to talk about every single day this time of the year. So let's get into it. Obviously, we're going to talk about Nick Saban retiring. That's going to be huge for college football, and I want to talk about kind of what impact it's going to have around the country because when a domino like that falls, things around it start to fall also. And then Ohio State's got some more players returning. I want to get into that. I think that this year is going to be exciting, man, because with all these guys coming back, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we should have no worries about the defense. But we'll get into more of that here in a little bit. And then I want to talk about some of the offseason moves that Ryan Day is making. So we've already seen some dominoes fall there with a coaching hire, Matt Guerrieri, I think is how it's spelled. So we'll talk about that here in a minute too. I'm going to start with Nick Saban. Obviously, the biggest news around college football right now. Um, Let me move this out of the way. Sorry about that. Anyway, Nick Saban, like I said, biggest news going on around college football right now. You're the GOAT. We're losing the GOAT. He's done coaching, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this came very kind of abruptly. There is like some rumors about health issues or something like that, or maybe that's what he told his team. But hopefully that's not the case. Obviously, I mean, I'm praying for Nick Saban and his family that there's no health issues within his family that is causing him to kind of have to step away from the game. But it's going to have a huge effect on college football, both right away and in the long run. Um, Talking about the right away effect, obviously Alabama's going to have to hire a new coach. So somebody's about to lose their coach, and there's rumors swirling around that it's Dan Lanning from Oregon. And that would leave a big time job opening at Oregon if that did happen. And then obviously Dan Lanning is going to be looking for a staff down there at Alabama. So if I'm Ryan Day, I'm going out right now and I'm going to secure my staff because if Dan Lanning gets down to Alabama and decides to clean house and bring his own guys in, some of those guys, he may be looking for the best of the best, kind of what I think Ryan Day is doing right now. So that's definitely something that Ryan Day needs to consider. I see we got people in the chat already. What's up with Wealthology? Is Emeka back? I did see something on Twitter right before I went live here that saying that Emeka announced he was coming back. Now I was just scrolling through and seeing it, so I'm not sure if it was 100% credible. But if it was, check out Twitter or anything like that. I'm sure that information will be there. I think Emeka is coming back though. I don't think there was ever really a big question on whether he was leaving because Emeka is a first round talent and was probably not going to be a first round pick because of the season he had and because the quarterback play at Ohio State was really just that bad where I mean it wasn't the best to display Emeka's talents, I guess. Like Marv is one thing. Marv is a contested catch expert. You can just throw it up to him. That's not what Emeka is. Emeka needs to get in windows and have you get the ball to him. That's what his skill set suits the best. And Kyle McCord was not that type of quarterback that was going to be kind of hitting windows. And so hopefully they'll use some more of what they use for Marv to get Mecca in open space for this next season, and that will really showcase his talents. Because I mean, a lot of people will talk a lot of shit about Emeka, and the truth is he's one of the best wide receivers in college football, and he's always been ever since he's been starting at Ohio State. He just has been playing with Marv, who is the best player in college football, and he got overshadowed, and then he had some injury issues this past season. I do think that he probably got a little too big for what he wants, what they're trying to use him as. Excuse me. I don't know if that had to do with if that's what they wanted to do with him. I don't know. But anyway, I want to go back. Just kind of got off track there talking about Emeka. I want to get back to Nick Saban. Like I said, the rumor is they're going to hire Dan Lanning from Oregon, and that's the coach who I said if Ohio State was going to lose Ryan Day, I think we should hire Dan Lanning. I think he's, you know, the way that guy talks and the way that he coaches his team, he has that fire and that passion that some of the best coaches in college football have. Um, excuse me, but I don't know, man. We'll see. It's obviously not announced yet that Dan Lanning is going to be that coach, so it could be someone else. I don't think it'll be anyone from the Alabama staff. They're going to go get a big name because they want to keep that roster together. Which that's the next domino effect. That's kind of an immediate impact is Alabama's roster is open to enter the transfer portal for the next 30 days because of Saban leaving there. And I don't know, man. If I'm Ohio State, I'm calling everybody. I mean, any position that you could potentially upgrade from your roster, I'm calling them. And some names that come to mind are obviously the ones that Ohio State were in on in recruiting. And I almost think that those are the least likely guys that are going to end up at Ohio State. Maybe I'll be wrong, but Ryan Day is not the type to circle back and be like, okay, well, you didn't pick us last time. We're going to go after you this time. If you've noticed, pretty much any player that picked another school over Ohio State and then entered the portal, Ohio State didn't really even entertain it. Now, I do think that Ryan Day is moving a little bit different this offseason, and I think that's important. I think that he had to because his job is on the line, and we'll talk about like kind of what they're doing this offseason so far, and we'll get into that too. But I mean, I just had to talk about, like I said, Nick Saban retiring. Obviously, I don't have any higher respect for any coach in college football other than Saban. Alabama was always the standard when he was there. Even in the 2 years that Georgia won the national championship, no one ever thought Alabama was going to fall off and not beat them again. And then turn around this year and Alabama beat them. And Georgia was probably the best team in college football. I mean, if Georgia goes into that playoff, I could easily see them winning the college football playoff because they had two things that no team in the playoffs had was a quarterback that can actually throw the ball downfield combined with a really good defense. Washington's defense was not very good, and Alabama did not have a quarterback that could throw the ball downfield. I mean, Texas had some of that, but Quinn Ewers is one of those quarterbacks, and I said it before that he is inconsistent. He's either going to give you a phenomenal game or a terrible game. So, anyway, like I said, all respects to Nick Saban. I mean, there's some other big things happening around like the football world. Bill Belichick will not be the Patriots coach next year. I mean, I don't follow NFL too much, but I know that's a huge thing to happen because that's another GOAT. It's kind of like, is he going to be coaching next year, or is he done? Same thing with Pete Carroll at Seattle. Though, I mean, 2024. If you're a GOAT, 2024 ain't been a good year for you so far. I don't think Pete Carroll's a GOAT, but he's one of the best one of the best football coaches in all of history, in my opinion. So, anyway, let's get into some of this Ohio State stuff. I want to talk about this offseason, kind of what Ryan Day is doing so far. Before I do that, we did get some big news on guys returning. It's kind of, you can see it on the graphic. BIA, reload the clip. I mean, this Ohio State team seems like they just want to run it back. You got Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, and Donovan Jackson announcing that they're returning for their senior years. And I mean, I don't know, man. Like that's three players that should be like All-American type players next year. I mean, Denzel Burke, to me, if with one more year of development and the defense getting better for one more year, Denzel Burke's going to end up being like a top 20 pick, I would imagine. Jordan Hancock, I mean, he's already an NFL player. He's just going to be putting more film out there, and he's going to be honestly a huge part of this Ohio State defense. Hopefully they do a lot with him next year because I love seeing him like blitzing off the edge and stuff like that too. Seems like every time he does, good things happen. So hopefully they'll incorporate more of that stuff. And then talking about Donovan Jackson returning, this one is huge in my opinion. A lot of people kind of grade Donovan Jackson on a scale because he was a 5-star, super high recruit coming out of high school, and he's been really good at Ohio State. And this past year, people say he wasn't great, but I think that the offensive line was not great to start the year off, and then they continued to get better and better. And I think Donovan Jackson did the same thing, and I do think that he would have been drafted. He would have been probably on a 2 deep in the NFL, or maybe starting in the NFL. if he decided to go, but he decided to come back, and I think that for him again is also just going to help his draft stock. But more importantly, for the 2024 team, the offensive line is already one of those units where they have to figure things out and make sure that they get a really good offensive line on the field. And having a surefire starter back, a surefire starter who is going to be a good player, who's a veteran now, just another year of strength and conditioning for him. I mean, I just think that that is a huge impact because otherwise, the offensive line would have some question marks more than it already has. Right now, I think it's only like we're looking for maybe what a right guard and possibly a right tackle, or the other way around. We're looking for a right tackle, possibly a right guard. But I mean, we have guys on roster, man. I want to see Tegra. Give me Tegra in the starting lineup this year. I think he's one of the best offensive linemen we have on the team. Every time I've ever seen him on the field, he's good things are happening. So, and you saw some of that in the Missouri game because they used Tegra as the like extra tight end that they like to put in there, tight end slash offensive lineman. And when they also had Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle in the backfield. But it seemed like it worked. I mean, they busted some big run plays out of that, and they only did it a few times, but I don't know. When Tegra was on the field, he was out there blocking the right person and moving guys off the ball. So I don't know. I think we have some talent on the offensive line. They just have to develop guys, get them ready to go. And I think that on the left side of our line, we pretty much have it locked down with Josh Simmons, uh, Donovan Jackson, and then the center. I would imagine that Seth McLaughlin is probably going to end up being the starting center. And then that asks, what do you do with Carson Hinsman? Maybe he slides over to right guard, and I would like that because I think having Donovan Jackson as a senior, Seth McLaughlin, who ton of experience in the SEC and kind of is an attitude type kid, and then Carson Hinsman right next to him, who is also like an attitude type kid, in my opinion. I think that interior of the offensive line will be nasty. Like you want to run the ball, you got Travion Henderson, maybe, and Quinshawn Junkins. Give me that three in the middle of the offensive line. I think they'll be moving people. It'll be a nasty offensive line, and Ohio State won't really have any like short yardage issues like they've been having in the past couple of years. So I don't know. Those are big news. Like I said, those guys coming back. I mean, this is going to be the most experienced Ohio State team that I can remember. I don't remember one where pretty much everybody decided to come back. And my guy Cam, or Truther, if you know him on Twitter, he was just talking about how this is kind of similar to what Michigan did to retake the rivalry over. And I agree with it 100%. If you just think of some of the parallels, like um, in 2020, Ohio State made it to the national championship. Now they didn't win, but Michigan won the national championship this year. So the following year, 2021, when Michigan beat Ohio State, all those guys that were there in 2020 decided that they were not going to go to the NFL. They were going to come back, and they wanted to beat Ohio State. They wanted to right the ship. You're looking at guys like David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson, guys like that. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. My cat's right behind me scratching on this post. But you don't ever do it any other time. But anyway, guys like that, and then even some guys on offense they had. I want to say Haskins, the running back they had, and a couple other guys. They all came back, and they're like, "Look, if we're gonna right this ship, we're gonna right this ship together." And they did. I mean, I don't know that the confidence that they gave the team is kind of transferred over year after year, and now Michigan is national champions with a team that I think very, very much resembles what Ohio State's going to have in 2024, because they had a lot of old guys, a lot of guys who came back, a lot of guys who were fourth, fifth, and sixth year guys, and I think Ohio State's going to have that here. I'm getting an error message here. It says, all right, well, I'm going to keep going. It's telling me that for some reason YouTube's not receiving the video like it should. But if you guys are having issues, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to keep it going here. because that's the only thing I can do on my end. I can't fix it. So anyway, there are a couple guys who Ohio State's still waiting on to hear back from. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if Ohio State's waiting on it. I guess the media and all of us are waiting. The one we already talked about, Emeka Ibuka, I think most people assumed that he was going to be coming back. I kind of did too, and I'm pretty sure that he announced it. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't have any insider info on it anyway, but um, hopefully Emeka comes back, and then you're looking at Travion Henderson. I mean, the word's been that he's okay with playing with Quinshon Judkins. So hopefully Travion Henderson's coming back because I think that he could be the best running back in college football. I think Trey could be a better running back than Quinshon Judkins if he comes back and puts another year of development in, which will help him just develop more like jump cuts, more vision, more ability to make one guy miss an open field, all that. So I mean, I hope Travion Henderson comes back. I'm assuming we'll know within the next couple of days. And then the last guy is JT Tuimoloau. This is a guy who I really never saw coming back to Ohio State. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the way his recruitment went in the beginning and how Ohio State like greeted him at the airport with the flowers and all that stuff. I don't know. I don't see JT Tuimoloau as a guy who's like, I need to come back and beat Michigan. I think that if he leaves, he's going to end up being a first round pick, probably late first round pick. At the worst, he'd be like an early second round pick. But I think that he does a lot of things that teams need guys to do, but it's not really like the superstar role. JTT does a lot of setting the edge, does a lot of run stopping, stuff like that. And those things are important to NFL teams. I think he's just a big, strong, powerful guy. He'll test well at the combine. I expect him to go. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out, though. Obviously, within the next couple of days, we should see an announcement on that one too. So that's it for the players for now. I do want to talk a little bit about the coaching hires. Obviously, we talked yesterday. Ohio State decided they were not going to continue with Perry Eliano as the safety coach. I assumed that they were going to have Tim Walton have Tim Walton take over the entire secondary, and that's not what happened. They ended up hiring Matt Guerrieri, guy who he was the Indiana co-defensive coordinator last year. The year before that, he was at Ohio State as like a GA or whatever, some under position. He's one of Jim Knowles' guys. I don't know how I feel about this hire, honestly. Like, I feel like the safeties played really well for Perry Eliano. Um, there was a lot of lapses from the safeties in big games. It's something that we have to talk about. It was from players that I really like, guys like Sonny Styles, Lathan Ransom. Not really Josh Proctor for what it's worth. I feel like he played really well in the big games. Um, but I don't know, man. You look back at the last three losses that Ohio State took, the last four losses Ohio State took, really. But I guess not really. The Missouri one was not really on the defense, but the one big play that they did give up, I believe, was on Sonny Styles. He got caught up on a play action, and where the play was made is where he was supposed to be at, I believe. But anyway, not even talking about that game. You look at the big games, the last two Michigan games and the Georgia game. The safeties really got exposed in those games. Now I know that the linebackers were the biggest liability in the Michigan game in 2023, but Sonny Styles and those safeties got exposed in the run fits multiple times, and one of them was a touchdown for Michigan. Blake Corum, kind of Sonny Styles took a bad angle. Blake Corum ran it, scored a touchdown, and they only lost by 6 points. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those situations where I feel like the safeties play good all year, and then it does seem like sometimes in big games they get exposed. I don't know if that's Jim Knowles' defense or what it is, but maybe that would have been a little different if Lathan Ransom was here this year, because obviously he was hurt and was not able to play. Another guy that's coming back next year, I'm excited to see him back too, because I think he's the perfect body build and perfect skill set for that position of Jim Knowles, which is like that strong safety who tends to fit in the run a ton. So I don't know. I'm happy to see Lathan back, but Ohio State hiring Matt Guerrieri as a safeties coach after getting rid of Perry Eliano is it's a question mark. Honestly, I mean, I know that he's Jim Knowles' guy. I know that Ryan Day is talking about giving his coordinators um, more authority and more power, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think Perry Eliano was that bad. It's not, I don't want to. There's no slander for Perry Eliano because I feel like he's a really good coach at Ohio State. But maybe this is what Jim Knowles thinks needs to happen for his defense to take the next step and be the best defense in college football. And hopefully this guy can recruit. That's kind of what we're hoping because Perry Eliano did have a couple misses on the recruiting trail, which is another thing that um, people tend to bring up when they talk about him. But I don't think this guy's ever been a phenomenal recruiter, and maybe he will be now that he has the Ohio State brand on his chest. So I'm not going to say it's a bad hire, but I don't think it's a knock it out of the park hire either. And then moving on from that here, the one thing that I think will be huge news that I can actually talk about now on here is because I've been seeing it all over the place now. But anyway, there's like real smoke that Ohio State's trying to hire Miami's defensive line coach Jason Taylor. Now, if that happens to me, that would be sweet. That would be like a mob move by Ryan Day, like a mob boss move. Because if you've been following Ohio State, you know that Miami's taken a couple of recruits from Ohio State at the defensive line positions over the last couple of years, and that's just something that, um, like I said, if Ryan Day looks at it and is like, okay, you guys are going to take a couple of our recruits, we're going to go ahead and take your defensive line coach and use him as our um, basically transition plan. I would imagine that this means that Larry Johnson is close to retiring. And he probably let Ryan Day know that, like, hey, I got 1 or 2 years left in me. And they're like, okay, we'll hire Jason Taylor. You guys can both be defensive line coaches, and then he can be the transition plan when you're done. Obviously, this one's not a done deal yet, but man, that would be sweet if that happens. That would be a home run hire. And I think that regardless of what happens in 2024, if you have Jason Taylor on staff, he needs to be the future of Ohio State's defensive line. Because if something happens in 2024 and Ryan Day ends up being gone, whoever comes in needs to retain Jason Taylor. If he ends up being here, obviously he's not even here yet, so that's kind of we'll wait and see, right? If it does happen, I just think that's a bomb ass move for Ryan Day in the offseason. And I mean, I don't know. It seems like Michigan winning the national championship might be the thing that ignites Ohio or that gets Ohio State to focus on getting to their actual potential instead of just being okay with going 11-1 until that loss came to Michigan. If it was any other team and it was 11-1, we wouldn't care, but we do care if it's Michigan, especially when that's the game that's going to catapult them into the playoffs and they're going to go win a fucking national championship. I just think that that's something that I mean, if you're an Ohio State fan, if you work for Ohio State, that's unacceptable. It can't happen. And I don't know, man. Like, they executed a plan, and now we need to execute a plan to take this rivalry back. And it seems like that's what Ryan Day is trying to do. And basically, all of this is kind of teetering, in my opinion, on who Ryan Day hires as the offensive coordinator. We talked about how um, he was looking for an NFL guy. Hopefully, that is the case. But if whatever it is, Ryan Day needs to knock this out of the park. You need an offensive coordinator that's going to go out there and change the culture of your offense because the culture of the defense is high right now. Everybody wants to come back. Everybody wants to be the best defense in college football. The culture of the offense is not that right now, and maybe with some of the additions of the players that are coming in, combined with the new guys coming in, Jeremiah Smith, guys like that, maybe that culture will change. Even some of those young guys get more playing time now, like Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. They kind of have that meanness culture to them, so I love that for them, or I love that out of them, and hopefully they'll help flip the culture on offense, and this Ohio State team can get back to being like having that attitude and that moxie to them, because the defense is going to have that next year. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Hopefully Ryan Day knocks this out of the park, and we end up starting a little mini Ohio State dynasty, especially with Nick Saban being out of the game and whatever dominoes fall from that. Either way, it just got easier to win a national championship in college football without having the guy who wins most national championships in college football. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. I think I had some quality stream issues, so I'm sorry for that if you got that as you were watching the video here. But hit the like button, leave subscribe, all that good stuff. As long as you enjoy the content, I'm gonna go daily. That's the plan right now, unless something comes up, and I'll let you guys know. But thanks for watching. Peace out, guys, and you have a great day.